Welcome to today's episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions podcast. And today we have a very special guest, Imtiaz Kabir. This man has over 15 years of knowledge coming from working with people in the fitness space. He also has a degree in biology, and he knows a lot about getting people into peak physical condition. So check out today's episode and be sure to listen to it till the end because it is a good one. All right, let's dive in. Welcome to today's episode here at Masculine Health Solutions podcast. I got Imtiaz here who's going to shed some light on some physical development for men more than anything, different topics that we want to get into, and we're just going to dive right in. All right, Imtiaz, tell me a little bit more about yourself just so my followers know a little bit more about you.
Hey, thanks for having me on your show, CJ. So, in general, I am a strength and conditioning coach. I've been in this industry for over 15 plus years. I've been an athlete, I've been a coach, I've been kind of in all different sectors of the industry, both physique, athletics, general population, children. I've had a chance to coach a variety of people. So, I've got a lot of experience that has shown me that what's out in the fitness industry now is majority of it's bullshit, and we need people to step up and provide the correct information. So that's my mission now. My mission is to help people demystify that stuff and actually make a lasting difference rather than go through the cycles they keep going through, just up and down, up and down.
Excellent. Now you mentioned that, one question I got is what's one of the biggest BS or scams that you see that's coming out of the fitness industry right off the bat?
Right off the bat, I mean, it's got to be the quick fixes. Immediately,
Yeah,
like every single program is a quick fix. Immediately, it's a 14-day guaranteed results or 7-day whatever. It's like, hold on a second. If you know anything about human physiology, which I've studied extensively at university, my degree is in biology, the human biology. So it's I've studied that thing inside and out. It's like you don't make lasting changes in 7 days or 14 days, right? If they marketed it, so here's my thing with fitness marketing. They're dishonest, right? They'll tell you, yeah, you can lose 20 pounds in 7 days, something stupid like that. But if they instead market it as, change your habits in 7 days, that's more real. That I can get. I can get behind that. So a big component of what I've done over the last, 5 to 10 years is study the psychology of human beings. Change
yes.
psychology. How do people change? What makes them tick? What makes them decide to do one thing versus the other? And when I studied that, I discovered that, the marketing is what keeps getting people to fall for the same thing again and again with different coaches and different trainers.
So it's almost a psychology, and I guess the way they market things, it seems counterintuitive, but it makes sense because they use the same ploys and the same plots to kind of get us to buy the same thing. It's kind of, if you buy this or you do that, then you'll have the success that you're looking for. So they kind of they tug at our heartstrings a bit to kind of get us to go in the way that they want to spend money. But I totally agree with you because I think the last one I saw was 3 weeks to abs. I'm like, and they show a guy that going from like 40% body fat down to 7% shredded, looked like he was stage ready. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but do you see that too on your side?
I didn't see that specific ad, but I just saw somebody launch a 7-day ab program. It's like, what are you selling to people? Like, come on.
I mean, the only way I think that you might get abs in 7 days is if you go on an extreme dry fast or something. But no, I don't. I'm pretty sure you die at the end of
I'll tell
that.
you my experience with 7-day abs. Okay, so I'm in the military as well, so I serve in the reserves.
Okay.
So when you go into some intensive training courses over the summers and whatnot, you start to realize how quickly your body weight drops. So for example, when I went to basic training, I walked in at about 198 pounds. Roughly a month and a half, maybe 2 months later, I'm 160. Like
Damn.
I was, if somebody goes through that kind of rigorous labor and training, yeah, I can see that happening. Or the other way you're doing it, which is how the professionals do it, is they're taking, steroids and other supplements to help them with that.
Yeah.
And the third way, which is what I've personally used with a lot of my athlete clients, a lot of my fighters, is we do a water cut. I mean, you want
Yeah.
visible abs,
Weight
I
cut.
can get you, shredded to a certain point, just before you die, essentially in 7 days, no problem. But the moment you start eating and drinking, which you are going to have to do, it all comes back.
Yeah.
So it's that's my biggest thing when I see these quick fix programs. I'm like, okay, redo your marketing, please.
Or marketing away with truth, but I guess they kind of find the different ways to get away with it.
Yeah.
That brings me to another question. What's kind of the number one issue you see with guys right now that's suffering physically, or the guys that come to you looking for help? Like, what's the biggest issue?
Chronic stress. Chronic stress. It's at the root of all their problems, seemingly, right? I mean, you talk about performance in the gym, performance in the bedroom, performance in life, performance at work. Men are chronically stressed. And there's a few reasons for this, right? One, they're physically out of shape. Men are not what they used to be. You know, the phrase that men are soft, nowadays men are very soft, it's kind of
Yeah.
true. We've lost that edge to our manhood because we don't have to push ourselves physically as much anymore. We don't have to go out to get things. We don't have to go hunt for resources or mates. It's kind of all there. Even mate selection's online now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, we don't have to hunt essentially. So we've gotten soft physically. Mentally, we've gotten soft because we're just discussing this before the recording started that there's a culture of, hating on men right now.
Yeah.
Anyone who's masculine or traditionally masculine, if you would, for some reason, there's a subset of people out there who just hate on them instead of understanding what it means to be a man. And there's different definitions of it. So there's that attack on men. So a lot of men, because they don't have resources, they
Yeah.
fall to that. They fall to the criticism and they get softer. They don't know how to handle things in life anymore. And it's sad because men have so much to offer society if they step up. Just like women. I say the same thing about women. Women who step into their femininity have so much to offer. Who said a feminine woman can't be a CEO, right? Who
No,
said a
no.
feminine woman can't be a mother? The same thing. Who said a masculine man can't be a CEO and love being a CEO and a power guy? Or who
Yeah.
said a masculine man can't be just a dad? And
Yeah.
that's his main thing, right? So the problem is the demonization of men has led them to get really soft. And I see that even more because being in the military, I see the hard edge. I live the hard edge. So it's like, oh, damn, there's a difference when you come to civvy side. It's like, oh, men are soft. They can't take criticism anymore. It's a different world now.
That's 100% agree with you. And it's weird too, because you see the society, and I guess one thing I remind my kids when they're growing up, because I got two boys, right? And I'm like, you get pushed down, get back up, man. Like,
That's right. Yeah.
and I talk to him, I'm like, no, man up, man. Like, and if you have a teacher that finds that disrespectful, hey, so be it, man. Like, man up. I got to raise two boys, have that edge.
I love what you just said. You said man up. And now if you say that out in like social media, you get criticized for it.
Exactly.
It's
It's
the
kind of like
strangest thing.
they want to grab you by the balls for saying something I don't know. And the weirdest one to me, I mean, I just saw this yesterday where they said instead of celebrating Mother's Day, let's celebrate Childbearing Person Day. And I'm like, no,
Oh my
man,
God.
that's
That's
Mother's
awful.
Day. Like,
Yeah,
no, that to me, that's almost like that's sacred, man. That's sacrilegious. That's just something that you don't do. And when my wife heard that, she's like, excuse me, child. She's like, I am a mother. I am a woman. And I'm like, damn straight, right? Like,
that's
and
right.
we should celebrate that more in our culture. So you think that's one thing that's probably contributing to like the stress of just that your average dude as well? Like just the fact that, that lack of identity?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the nail. It's a lack of identity. Men don't know what it is like to be a man anymore, right? The ones who do get criticized hard. Like it's the craziest thing in the society. So when a man doesn't have a signpost, a guide that he can follow to say, okay, what is a man supposed to be or do? And like I said, there's different definitions. So one of them will fit you, right? When they don't have that guide, it's easy for them to get super stressed out, not know what to do in situations, get criticized on top of that, right? And on top of this, on top of all of this, cherry on top, the overt pressure on men to perform a certain way based on societal standards,
Yeah.
usually by feminists or women who are, very vocal out there, that doesn't help, ladies, if you're listening. Men have self-esteem issues just the same you do. We just
Yeah.
don't bring it out to the surface as much. We hurt on the inside, right? We're built not to show that emotion like you guys are. So please understand when you start criticizing men or saying you're not good enough or you don't make enough money or you're not tall enough or whatever else, it really breaks down the men in your life and your society. And that leads to a weaker society. We've seen that again and again. When you start to make men more like women and women more like men, society doesn't do very well. It's proven, it's been studied. So please screwing it up.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. I kind of feel like we need that balance. It's kind of like your yin to your yang and all that. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that you said, the celebration of a feminine woman is a wonderful thing, right? And a feminine woman is a strong woman, man. Like my wife is very feminine. She celebrates her femininity and
Hmm.
she's a proud mother, but that doesn't mean that she's just going to get trampled on or believe, a lot of things that's coming down the pipe from society, right? Which is, I 100% agree with you with that. One thing that I was just thinking about how do you think fitness plays a role into helping define men?
It's probably, let me put it this way. I don't want to overhype it, but I think it's the most important component of what defines the modern man because of the lack of fitness, right?
Gotcha.
It's probably the thing that's missing the most. I'm a father. I have two daughters, right? So I got my
Yeah.
husband, I got two daughters. So I've been through the different phases of being a man, son, friend, fiance, husband, etc. All throughout the whole time, the one thing that I've kept constant and it's paid off dividends for me is fitness. And this is
Gotcha.
why. On a physical level, when men are moving, there's a reason biologically men are different from women. Men are given certain biological conditions and traits so they can do certain kinds of things in society. We have more testosterone, we have more aggression in our personality. It's
Yeah.
there for a purpose, right? When men don't get to do that, when men don't get to utilize these things that are biologically inherent in them, right? So i.e. go out there, do something physical like a sport or go work out. It softens men, not just physically but mentally, right? So there's that
Yeah.
physical component. On the mental edge, if you never push yourself, if you never challenge yourself, how do you know what you're worth? And
Yeah, I
men
agree
are
with that.
always competing, right? For something or the other. We're either competing with each other or with something else. Like that's our nature. If we're not competing in the gym to get that next rep, to get that next weight up, like you never understand what it is like to face challenges and come out of it, which further softens a man. So this is a big problem. When men have allowed themselves to get soft with their fitness habits, they've just let it all go, it leads to a cascading set of issues that we don't really see until it's too late. Then you get people with lifetime diseases, diabetes, obesity, these things. These are all preventable if only men, specifically men, would step up to their own plate and say, no, I'm going to make my health and fitness a priority.
Gotcha. 100% agree with you with that. I mean, for me, the biggest pay, I guess the one thing that I would say has been the most beneficial for me from working out since I was like, I don't know, 13 years old, right? Like
Hmm.
I fell in love with the gym. But the number one thing that I could say has had the most carryover and the most impact in my life is just the discipline you take away from it, man. Where it's just like, you know what, I got to go to the gym, I got to do this. And I didn't even know how the brain worked at the time, but it's almost like, you know what, I developed this habit and now I cannot live without it. Like I need to do this, but it's something positive. So I'm getting a wicked return on investment on this, right? And it just comes from me constantly doing the same thing over and over again, but constantly getting better at it too, right?
And they don't make two things in this world anymore, right? They don't make more time.
Nope.
And your health, you can't make better health. Even if you improve your health today, it will not be the same as you 10 years ago. It's just not going to be that,
Yeah.
right? So, I'll give you an example today. Today was a perfect example. So I got my COVID vaccination like last week, like a week ago.
Okay.
And I happen to be one of those people that has severe side effects from it, like super flu-like side effects, body chills, pain. I'm like, oh, this
Slept
is
for 20
painful.
hours.
Oh my God, suffering. So I'm like, okay. I wanted to curl up in bed and take a nap before I got on the show with you. But I
Yeah.
said to myself, you know what? What would I do if I was in the gym right now? Because I've trained when I was sick or whatever. I've done it. What would I do if I was in the gym? Would I just quit and go home, or would I go for that next rep and say, nut up, let's go, right? So same thing. It's that discipline, like you said, from being in the gym, from doing the things you need to be doing, that transfers over to every other aspect of life.
Exactly. It's almost like the mindset you develop, right? It's almost like sure you're leveling up and you're doing these reps, you're doing these sets, but it's almost just the mindset that you develop when you do it. You know, it's just constantly going out there and I'm doing it again and I'm doing it again. I'm grinding, I'm grinding to the point where it's just like it becomes second nature. And
Yep.
regardless of whether it's like I gotta go to work or I gotta take care of my kids, get my kids ready, it carries over into every aspect of life, which is why I think it's as beneficial as it is and why I think so many men need it. But that being said, what do you think is the biggest thing that's holding men back from being completely healthy right now? Because you probably hear the most, like I don't have time or I don't
Yep.
have money. Like, what do you think is the biggest thing that's really holding them back? The truth.
Couple of things. There's two. One is fitness marketing, and I keep coming back to this because it's such an insidious damn thing. So when I get a man coming to me, a guy coming to me and saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to get bigger, stronger, leaner. I want to be fit, whatever, for whatever reason, whether it's sport, life, or whatnot." If I tell them, "Hey, okay, so I've got like a 12-week program that you can go through, or like a 24-week program," sometimes they might say, "Oh, I don't have the time, or I don't have the fill in the blank resource, money, time, whatever."
Yeah.
But if I tell them, "Hey, I've got a 7-day program that's going to get you shredded to the bone," they'll always have the time. So it's again that fitness marketing, it's gotten into people's heads so much, and it's not their fault. It's not that they want to believe it. It's just that's all they see. You go to YouTube, you see the likes of Chris Harria, you see V Shred,
Oh, V Shred, man.
all these people who are just, I mean, terrible influences for the normal average person, right?
Yeah,
You see bodybuilders selling stuff to normal people. It doesn't make any sense. So there's the fitness marketing aspect. The second thing is a lack of belief because they don't have the role models in society. Like if a guy like you, CJ, for example, walks up to somebody and says, you know, I want to talk to you about your health and fitness. I think you could do better. They look at you and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I think I can, because they see you. They see that you live the thing, you live the message, you live the truth. You're
yeah,
about helping people. But you don't see people like you out there. You see people who are shredded to the gills, selling you something, always
yeah,
selling you something. So it always keeps coming back to that fitness marketing. This is a big part of my mission. In my podcast, I talk about this, how, you know, my goal is to put the message out there, but also to bring people on my show and spread their message, because we have to counter this marketing. We have to
yeah,
give people a fair chance at deciding for themselves. After that is their responsibility.
yeah. But it's almost like you got to get them to fall in love with the process, which is something that a lot of people just don't want to do. It's almost like it's the opposite. And I kind of feel that life is always about the journey, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the magic happens, like your Don Quixote kind of style life, right? You got to go out
Hmm.
and make this adventure happen for yourself. But the adventure and the beauty of it is the process of whatever it is that you want to attain. And I kind of feel that nowadays nobody actually wants to go through the process. They just want to find a shortcut. Like
The
I don't know if
shortcut.
if you've seen this too, but like when I was a trainer and I'd be in there working out and I'd be talking to these guys and I'd be like, yeah, man, if you do this, focus on your compound movements, build some
Hmm.
mass like this, that. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna do my own thing with my buddy, right? And 2 weeks later, this guy shows up. He's put on about 20 pounds of muscle mass. I'm like, what are you and your buddy up to, man? Like, and he's like, oh man, started taking some of that juice, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
6 months later, this guy's depressed, suffering from side effects, and now he's got gyno. And I'm like, well, why
Yeah.
didn't you just, stick to a program for about a year and you probably would have got there? It would have taken you a little bit longer, but you're a newbie. Like, why'd you jump to something as drastic as that? And it's something that I feel that just happening with this younger generation where it's almost like that instant gratification. Like, I need it now. I'm like, why don't you slow down, man?
It comes back to role models, right? What we see is what we emulate. My daughters, elder one, my eldest daughter, she's 5, and since she was maybe one and a half, I've been working out a lot more at home. I hate working out at home, just so you
Oh
know.
yeah,
Like
no, me too.
the gym is my place. It's my place of just, this is me, aggression on, let's go, you know. But
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot more home workouts, not for any other reason, but to show her, hey, staying healthy regularly, active regularly is the lifestyle. There is no alternative here. You just must do it until it becomes second nature. And now when I work out, she's there. Like she brings her own mat and she's like ready to go. And it's like, if you can normalize that, if you can normalize the hard work, the journey, like you said, then it's not, someone like that doesn't get influenced by the quick fixes later on. They know, hey, it's just about doing the compound movements, doing the basic stuff over and over, adjusting as we go. And lo and behold, you'll get where you need to go.
That's the way progressive overload works, which I always
Yep.
progressive overload is like something I always talk about in PE or just your normal
Hmm.
physical development. It's just you need that, but it's something that I find that's nothing that carries on into life, man. Like, oh, that's too easy, or you want to climb up the corporate ladder. Well, that's fantastic. Right now, you're at step one. In order for you to get to step five, you got to get it
Hmm.
through step two, three, four, five, right? And that's the same thing if you want to get your deadlift up. I'm like, well, don't worry about pulling 400 pounds if you can't get
Yeah.
past 200 pounds with a good form. Let's work on that. Like you're arcing your back a little bit too much. Why don't we slow down and look at the fundamentals, fix that before you can progress, right? And like I said before, I just feel like this generation, and I think a lot of men just in general suffer with that too, where it's almost like, I just want to do what I saw on YouTube yesterday.
I'll tell you a story about a client I just trained recently. So I ran a 12-week program, and everybody coming in had the typical goal. Oh, I want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever, right? So I'm like, all right, you guys get ready to be shocked. It's not that. So not only did most of the people lose, up to 8 to 10 pounds there. However, this one guy, he had never done a program before. He'd never done coaching before. I've known him since I was 1 year old. Like he's like,
Wow.
I go way back with this guy. So he kept coming in and insisting that, oh, I want to focus on the weight, on the weight, on the weight, and he wasn't seeing the weight fluctuate. And I asked him, so okay, like when we do the intake forms, what's his calorie intake? It's like 1,300 calories. And I'm like, I'm like, buddy, we got to get you up. Like that's like starvation level. And he had such a hard time with it. He had such a hard time grasping the fact that, oh, I'm gonna eat more. I'm gonna gain weight temporarily, but it's gonna come down eventually. He couldn't process that, even as he did it. And I was like, wow, like this is a perfect example of how people are so brainwashed by what they see. They think that, oh, it just takes me 14 days to get shredded abs or 10 days to get bigger or whatever. They don't realize it takes hard work and it's not exactly a straight line. Sometimes you
No.
gotta zig and then zag.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that I was learning about too. It's like the metabolic damage that you see from a lot of people with these what are they called again? Like the fad diets, right? It's like buddy
Mm-hmm.
tries keto this week, then he did a carb cycle next week, then he did a 3 day fast, and then he threw in like the grapefruit diet or whatever. And long term, like that's one thing that I had actually started reading about now is the metabolic damage that you can do to your body and how it's actually harder for you to lose weight or even maintain muscle mass because you've done all these diets that you didn't really need to do if you just stuck to one. I don't know, take one for example. Like, let's say you tried keto and you're like, okay, maybe I'll start off with 2,200 calories and slowly start to dial it back from there,
Mm-hmm.
or do a carb cycle. Like, I love carb cycling. That's kind
Me
of my
too,
go
yeah.
to because I'm like, you want to get shredded, man? It's a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, low carb days kind of suck, but it's effective. You throw in some IF with that, and I think it's perfect recipe if you want to make sure you know exactly what's going on with your calories. But it's like you say, man, like a lot of people will see some like the grapefruit diet, which I didn't know was a real diet, where I think you just eat like a grapefruit and like a peanut or something, and that's
Yeah.
your diet, and you're supposed to lose the tons of weight with it. And over time, you start to see, it rears its ugly head, 5 years later down the road, which is mind-boggling to me.
And all of these perceptions people have around certain diets and nutrition is something that I study deeply as well. I have a very invested interest in it because it's something everybody does. Everybody's going to eat,
You
so
have to.
we should probably get a good idea of how to eat. And one of the most common things you see with these fad nutrition diets that people get on and off of is they're psychologically not happy with themselves at a different level. It doesn't have anything to do with their fitness. There's something else that they're not happy about, whether it's their inability to be disciplined or where they are in life or a relationship they have with somebody. It's something else. Every single time I take people through nutrition programs, it's like when I start digging into that, it's like, oh, wait, so you and your mom have a very, terrible relationship. You guys fight all the time. Well, there you go. Cortisol's up there. How are you going to lose fat if you're always stressed out? So forget everything. Fix that first. Get a handle on your stress, and then we talk about the diet type. And you hit it right on the head. It's way better for people to pick one diet and do that for a while. Doesn't matter which
Yeah.
one, do one for a while and make adjustments. And then after a long period of time, if it's time to change it up, okay, you change it up.
Yeah, which is granted, I think that kind of goes against everything that they're marketing to you constantly. Like, it's funny
Yeah,
you brought up V Shred, and I'm like, oh man, this
yeah,
fool, man. Like,
yeah.
I was watching that guy try to give deadlift advice, and he's like, if you do this, you'll be able to deadlift like 3 plates and no. I'm like, dude, man, you're not even lifting properly. But he looks very sexy, Ladies probably
That's
love
it.
him. He's got his
Mm-hmm.
shirt off, he's got his abs out. But this guy doesn't know, like, he doesn't have a clue about actually like lifting weights or actually training people, so to speak. So but it kind of falls into the same narrative of this is what we're telling you, this is what you should consume. You know what, you buy this program, it's going to cost you $80, it's probably not going to work, so you're going to buy the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one.
Something I did in my early days of being a personal trainer is that's when online training started to become a thing for the first time. And I said, okay, you know what? I want to see what these coaches are all about. So I actually paid a coach. He used to charge, I remember his name was Manny. He used to charge $50 for a full program, diet, training, everything.
Damn.
So I was like, okay, he's super cheap. He's obviously making money. He's printing money. So I'm like, all right, let me see what he's got. Let me check it out. I ordered it from him. I paid money from my own pockets just to see it. And literally, all it is everything was between 8 to 12 reps and about 5 to 6 sets of each exercise. Okay, so super high volume. And then each workout day, which is about 4 or 5 days a week, you have about 8 to 10 exercises each day.
Wow.
Like that's a recipe for rhabdomyosis. That's a recipe for overtraining. That's a recipe for
Yeah.
you to hold on to more body fat because the human body, the human organism is an adaptation machine. The only thing it cares about is survival. It doesn't care about fat loss, muscle gain, nothing. Survival. It will do everything in its power to survive. So if you start
Survive.
messing with it
Yeah.
and stressing it out, which is why I said stress is the biggest problem. You stress it out too much, it's going to shut everything else down and say, screw you, I'm all about survival, deal with it.
And it's almost like when you mentioned that too, I tried one of those programs one time and I just found that my central nervous system was just it was tweaked, man. And then at the end of it, I started like straining random muscles that I would never,
Mm.
I would never have gotten strains from before, like hamstring strains, calf strains. I'm like, why? What's happening to me, man? It's you're overdoing it, right? But a lot of those cookie cutter programs, like if you want a good hypertrophy program, scale it back a little bit. But the one thing that I think is missing too, like, and as a personal trainer, which I've seen with the online training space, it's almost like they don't really necessarily care about. And I'm not gonna say everybody because there's a lot of great trainers out there, but like,
Yeah.
but one thing you do find with the generic kind of like follow this program
Hmm.
XYZ is that it's not tailor made for that person's needs. So
Hmm.
how is that person truly going to benefit from it if he's got, I don't know, scoliosis or something, right? But you're
Hmm.
going to tell him that, oh yeah, focus on chest day every day. It's like, well, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe we should focus on stretching, his back and doing different things to make sure that you can actually assess the problems that people have as individuals instead of just a blanket, just do 8 to 15 reps, man. Don't
Yep.
stop. Don't give up. CT Fletcher, overtraining.
Oh Lord, I love CT Fletcher for his motivational stuff, but damn, that guy overtrains.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of like, you remember Rich Piano when he came out?
Oh yeah, Rich Piana.
I try to do his 8 hour program. Yeah, rest in peace, man.
Oh boy.
A lot of the stuff that these guys preach, like I think it does look very sexy on YouTube and it looks very cool and all that. And I think a lot of young men buy into that. Like myself, man, like I tried out the 8 hour, was it the 8 hour arm program? I think, but I only did
Yeah,
it for 3 hours, and I'm like, I've had enough of this, man.
yeah.
It's like gain an inch in 8 hours. It's ridiculous, man.
I've tried a couple of programs from these guys too. Just to, I said to myself, give them a fair shake, give them a fair shot. Like don't talk trash about them until you try it. So I put myself through it. And then when I did my own powerlifting program, so I had a phase where I did powerlifting for a bit. Uh, I got more arm gains out of my powerlifting program, just deadlifting shit, than
In
like
the
a specific
bodybuilding.
arm day. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's the basic science, the basic nutrition, the basic physiology has not changed, but we get sold on the idea that this one new magical pill formula method is the solution. It's not. I tell every single one of my clients before they train with me, listen, what I'm going to tell you is basic science. If you came here expecting a magical combination of things, a magical this and that, it
no,
doesn't exist. You're going to do the same damn thing someone who's 20 years into the business or into training is going to do. Just the difference is I'm going to tweak it differently for the two of you. It's going to be slightly
exactly.
different, but both of you are going to end up doing some kind of a press, either a bench, a push, a dumbbell, variations, but it's the same thing. Physiology hasn't changed. So why should we change the methods? It's just about customizing it.
One question I got for you: what's the worst diet you think you've ever tried?
Ooh, worst diet I've ever tried personally. I would have to say, so okay, there's a bit of a gray area. I'd have to say it's the starvation style diets. Okay.
Okay,
So there's some diets out there. So grapefruit diet and tea, sorry, lemon juice diet aside, because those are I don't even consider those diets. That's just I don't know what that is. But starvation-based diets, where it's essentially okay, you gorge yourself one day and you starve the next 2 days, right? You completely restrict calories the next two
okay, yeah,
days.
yeah.
Uh, I think that's probably the worst because it has the most danger to the individual,
Okay, why
right?
is that?
Okay, so let's compare diets to give a context here. So let's say you take the keto diet, right?
Yep.
High levels of fat, mid to high protein, depending on your, the style you're doing, very low carbs. Okay, awesome. You compare that to something like a starvation diet. In the starvation diet, let's say Monday is your eating day. So you're eating, anywhere from 5, 6, 8,000 calories a day. Whatever you can stuff in your face, you eat. Then you go Tuesday, Wednesday, you're very low calorie, barely anything juices and all of the cleanse type stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, your detox cleanse.
So what that does to your body is it signals to your body that okay, one day I'm getting an abundance of food, which I don't know what to do with because I can only process so many calories in a given 24-hour period, right? The rest of that stuff is either going to go to fat stores or be excreted out. And that's a high level stress for the system. Your gut should not be stressed that much. So you do that on Monday. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, you do the polar opposite. You're completely shutting down the calorie intake to barely livable amounts. And your body says, well, yesterday you did that, so I was expecting more calories today. Where is it? It's not there.
Yeah,
So what you're telling your body is it's either feast or famine. And if you look at historical evidence, human beings who had to go through famines and whatnot, I think it was in Ireland and Scotland where they had the potato famine or something like that, where they didn't have
yeah,
carbs or something. You know what I mean? Like you study those evolutionary circumstances, and you start to realize the moment people go through that, it changes them at a genetic level.
it does.
It's no
Yeah,
longer just muscle tissue. This it's a genetic change, and what the body goes off into is survival mode. It says, you know what? Stop everything. I don't care about weight loss, fat loss, nothing. I'm in fact going to put on fat because I don't know what you're doing with your eating cycle. I don't know when the next feeding is. If it's not predictable, it's not good enough for me.
Store.
Right. So if you go to keto diet, for example, as much as I like to rag on it quite a bit, compared to a starvation diet, keto diet's not bad. At least you're getting nutrients. It's just a matter of the ratios and balances.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think starvation diet's probably the worst one.
And I don't know, the one that I tried was the vegan diet, man, and
Hmm.
I was not a big fan of that. I saw my strength go down.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm not a hater on veganism. That's kind of why I tried it. But
Hmm.
like, you watch that movie Game Changers?
Yeah. Yeah. All the
You remember
athletes on
that
the vegan diet.
where
Yeah.
they were preaching about how, like, it helped their PRs go up, endurance went up and all that. But I found for myself, man, like, it was a complete opposite. I felt like crap the whole time. I wasn't getting enough protein, so I just kind of gave up with that. And I went back to carb cycling when I do want to, get cut for summer, and that's kind of been my go-to. But for yourself, what do you think is the best diet then, or best eating style, I guess?
Eating style. So for me personally, what's worked the absolute best has been a combination of fasting and carb cycling. Carb
Gotcha.
cycling for me as well, it's just been like the gold standard so
It's
far.
money, man.
Think things might change as I age because I'm in my 30s now, and it's like, all right, we're getting things are changing. I'm not as athletic as I used to be. However, carb cycling and calorie cycling with it has been phenomenal. And fasting for sure. Anytime I need a cleanse or a reset or
Oh,
anything of that sort, I go right to fasting. It's been proven, it's time tested. We're evolutionary designed to be in a fasted state. And in fact, what I end up doing is when I do my fasting periods, my fasting phases, I go into a semi keto diet.
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I combine the two because it makes sense.
it
I
makes
have a
sense.
shorter
Yeah.
eating window. Eating more fats means I can get more calories in without overstressing my system with a high volume of food. Win win situation. That's perfect.
And that's the thing too. It's kind of like, because I'll combine it sometimes on my low carb day. I might even throw in like a 24-hour fast. But
Hmm.
what I'll do is, I'll be in my low carb cycle, right? So I'll do like one day low carb, next day I'll fast, and I'll break the next day, or break the fast the next day with another low carb day. So that way I'm kind of still in ketosis anyways. And I
Hmm.
don't find that it's as fatiguing either. Like, I find that you can kind of just roll with it. And it makes sense,
Yeah.
as you said, right? Because it's kind of, if you're gonna do 4 days low carb, I mean, I do three, but if you do four and you fast, or you do IF in the middle, man, it almost feels
Hmm.
like it doesn't even affect you. It just feels like you're just kind of gliding along, man. It makes the
Yeah.
process easier. Do you do
Absolutely.
do you do IF and prolonged fasting too, or
So I try to avoid prolonged fasting for me just because of my lifestyle. So I train regularly enough where prolonged fasting just doesn't feel good.
okay,
Because I stay very busy, so I'm either doing martial arts or I'm doing weightlifting or whatever.
something
I try not to go without carbs for too long. However, having said that, if anybody wants to do it or does it, it's phenomenal for you. Like if you go like 24, 36 hours on a fast, whew, it's great for you.
it feels good, man. Like, the longest I've ever done is a 72-hour fast.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things you mentioned in your last podcast as well that I was listening to. And it's true. You feel that inflammation go down. It's almost like I feel my body just feels lighter. And obviously I don't have any food in me, right? But that being said, it's almost like I do feel that the inflammation, like, I felt my joints feel better. It almost feels like my circulation, everything just kind of flows better. And I kind of feel like you got to give your body a break from food every now and again. Hence the reason why, I mean, I read about ancient cultures, and you'd be hard pressed to find an ancient culture that didn't practice fasting, which kind of goes to show it's like there may be something more behind this. And as far as health and longevity, I think it's phenomenal, man. Just take a day off from eating, on a day off or a nice chill day.
The human body's designed, we've evolved to be in a fasted state. That's what people don't realize, especially in Western countries where we have so
Oh,
much
food.
overabundance of food. We got Uber at every corner, like we can get food and drinks anytime we want. We are evolutionarily designed to sustain through fasted periods of time. That is why we store body fat, right? Nothing is by accident. Everything happens for a reason, and the reason we store body fat is as fuel. So when people tell me that, oh, I can't do IF, I'm gonna do the detox tea cleanse by XYZ person. I'm like, are you mental? Like your body will cleanse itself. So I'll give you my
Yes.
my personal example. I'm on the second last day of fasting. So, I'm
Okay.
fasting for Ramadan.
Ramadan.
So we
Yeah.
usually fast 29 or 30 days. This year is going to go 30 days. So tomorrow's my last day of fasting. So in combination with my fasting, which is essentially a dry fast from sunrise to sunset, no water,
Oh,
no food, nothing, right? It's very challenging. However, with that and the combination of a pseudo keto diet, I call it my pseudo keto diet because I'm not
it's
fully keto, but I'm like in
a
the edge.
hybrid. Yeah.
It's good enough for me. It gives me a good enough, balance of carbs that doesn't wreck my mood. Combination of that alone, zero exercise this past month and a half, I'm gonna say,
Oh, wow.
I lost 10 pounds, and not muscle, fat. Like, okay, maybe like 2% muscle. Like,
Maybe, yeah.
I was looking at myself in the mirror and I said, "Oh, my body fat's gone down significantly. Let's weigh myself." I wasn't even trying to do it, but this is what happens. Your human body is so good. If you know how to work with it, it'll give you the results the best way possible and hold on to it.
Exactly. No, it's 100% true, but we kind of got to wrap it up now. And the one
Mhm.
question I want to get from you right before we leave is, what's the one thing that you wish you knew when you had started your fitness journey?
One thing that I wish I knew when I started my own fitness journey was to try different things, but try one thing for a while.
Ooh, that's
Right?
good.
When I started, just like anybody else, when I was an athlete, I got sucked into the different programs and I was going through it. Now, thank God I was younger then, my body could handle that kind of flexibility.
Yeah.
But imagine if I had stuck with, let's say, the starting strength program for like a year. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Imagine the gains I would have made. And this is saying something because all my athletic career, I competed with people at the highest level, almost national level. I had national level athletes in certain sports I was competing with. And I was taking them on and without any formal coaching and anything. That's because I was a driven athlete. So I tell myself, imagine if I could just dedicate myself to a specific program and most importantly, get a coach. Like I
Yeah.
regret I never had a proper strength training coach till like, later in life. I was like, oh man, a coach makes such a huge difference. They can take you from where you are to where you need to be in a beautiful way because they see things that you will not.
100% agree with you, man. Because you look at any professional athlete, they got a team of coaches.
Hmm.
What does that tell you? And I 100% agree with you. I think one of the biggest things for all of us, it's almost we get overconfident in our abilities, or we think we're better than we are. And it's almost like, I don't need a coach, I don't need a trainer. Yet, Ronnie Coleman or, Sean Roden, take your pick, man. The greatest bodybuilder out there, he's got a coach. Why is
Absolutely.
that? Rolly Winkler's got a 7-year-old woman that tells him what to do. There's a reason for that. Wisdom, I think, comes in from many different places, but you almost have to humble yourself to realize that. Nah, hey, I'm in the same spot as you, man. When I was younger, I thought the same way.
It's a guy thing, and I get that. I totally get it. I just wish, I know the difference a coach made in my life, and then later what I did to my athletes and people I trained. So I'm like, you know what? I just wish I could have done that earlier.
Roger that, man. So where can we find you, and where's your podcast at? Tell us more about yourself and
Yeah,
what Maya.
absolutely. So quick little story. I shut down my entire online presence 2.5 years ago because
Okay.
I didn't want to compete with the half naked fitness influencers. I just didn't want to be in that industry. However, coming back with a vengeance now because I just can't sit on the sidelines anymore. I'm
Yeah.
rebuilding my entire brand. So my website's being built right now. It's going to be specialstrengthtraining.com.
Okay.
It should be live in about a week. But you can also find me on Instagram if you look up at Special Strength Fitness. So I'm getting
Special
that
strength
up and
fitness.
live
Yeah.
in basically the next couple of days. If you guys want to reach me, you can always send me an email at hello@imtiazkabir.com. I'll spell that. It's IMTIAZKABIR.com. So those are the best ways to reach me. You can, of course, find me on Facebook as well and just send me a friend request.
Awesome. Well, that's a wrap for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Imtiaz, it was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that's all for today's episode. Very enlightening one. It was a pleasure having MTS here. And again, if you want to get in contact with him, be sure to check him out or just hit him up at hello@imtiazkabir.com. That's hello@imtiazkabir.com. All right, guys. And again, he'll have his website up and running very, very soon. And I'll be sure to have him on as a guest. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay safe, stay strong. Until the next one.